circuit, and already this morning the air hot and heavy. It was a chaotic sprint yesterday, and in the warm-up, riders now have one last chance to put things right before 27 laps of Grand Prix action later on in the race. The locals love their MotoGP. The island is alive with colour. It's race day in Indonesia. And good morning from here on the Indian Ocean. It is hot, hot, hot out there. The air is thick. It's humid. And we've got a big race day coming up for you from here in Indonesia. We had a fantastically chaotic day of qualifying and then sprint racing yesterday, and now it's time for the Grand Prix proper. These are shots over at turn 10. The drone flies high above the circuit. There is the overhead view of the track. Just look at it. Look at its location. Absolutely stunning. But I tell you what, it's quite impressive out there already this morning. It is just past 10:30 local time. 30 degrees air temperature. The track at 52, and it is just going to rise as the day goes on. Any talk of any possible rain, well, have a look. 10% chance that something could bubble up if this heat, this oppressive heat, continues to rise. I'm not sure I see it happening today. There's always the chance of it, with the clouds bubbling around the edge, there on the edge. There is a breeze coming through, and actually in the shade, you might get by okay. But myself and Neil took a walk through the paddock this morning, chatting to a few people, didn't we? And how long did we last before we said, should we head back to the commentary box?
I'm going to say less than 5 minutes. It was, yeah. We had good intentions, let's say. We started with good intentions. You have
talking to a couple of crew chiefs and seeing who you can speak to.
Yeah, it's quite nice on a Sunday morning. So you get a bit of gossip when people are wandering around. It's like almost before let's say, the tension starts for the day. But yeah, we lasted 5 minutes, and I went back to the commentary box then in the aircon. It's like
very quick to accept that offer, definitely. Yeah. If you're in the shade though, as you can see, most of those people on the front grandstand there is a little bit of a breeze coming through, which may pick up as the day goes on. Challenging conditions though, Neil, all around, and as we head into this warm-up, there are still things to be ironed out. I wouldn't suggest there's too much to be ironed out for Marco Bezzecchi, because his weekend has gone almost perfect. I will say the start is a concern. If he has a similar start to the one he had yesterday, with the medium tyres, it becomes a little bit of a different story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it was, let's say, the only mistake he's made so far this weekend. I mean, he's pretty much topped every session. He's had about 0.4 of a second in his pocket advantage over everybody. And thankfully for us, he made it interesting for us yesterday, because we sort of knew if he got the lead, he was going to check out, but he got a terrible start. And he said he doesn't really know what happened. He was going to look at the data, so I've not heard anything since. But he didn't know if it was a mistake that he made himself, or it was just something that, let's say, got the setting slightly off on the start mode. But it was the first sort of 10 metres where we lost it all, and then he just got engulfed in the pack.
Yeah, he didn't spin up, did he? We were speculating, well, was it a dirty part of the racetrack? And when we watched the start back, now it just sort of almost bogged down would be the wrong phrase, but that's what it kind of felt like. Over at the other Italian manufacturer here, as Davide Tardozzi is deep in discussion again with Pecco Bagnaia's VR46 management. Very different story. Just with the soft tyre, was not working whatsoever, was it? Pushing the front, just didn't feel right at the braking. Marc Marquez ran wide early on. He accepted the penalty that he got for a long lap penalty. In the end, it was 6th across the line. You won't have heard from us since yesterday, but Luca Marini did get a tyre pressure penalty after the race, promoting Marc to 6th. With that, Ducati Lenovo were crowned team's champions, because they cannot be caught by Gresini, despite the fact that the Gresini team had a good day at the office with 2nd and 4th.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting warm-up, because the conditions are as going to be like race conditions. I don't think, apart from Marco Bezzecchi, every rider we heard from last night were complaining about their setup. This track's changing every time you go out. The grip levels are increasing, but no one seems happy apart from this man, and he seems to be making all his time up in the second sector, which is the the fast part of the track. It's key to a lap round here, and it almost means he doesn't have to risk as much on some of the other parts.
I was speculating a lot of people might have gone with the medium rear tyre this morning. They are actually. I just saw Quartararo went out and he's got soft rear, hard front. There's that special livery they've got on the bike this week. It's not that much different, is it? That was unveiled in.
It's not much different, but it looks better, doesn't it? I hate the there's too much white on the normal colours. I like that with the. That does look better.
Quite a testy atmosphere down there, isn't there, at PR46 at the moment?
I like them shirts as well.
Alessio Salucci yesterday, Ucho, as you better probably know him, had said that about Bagnaia testing his bike. Davide Tozzi dismissed those as not quite right. And then Di Gianantonio and Morbidelli were squaring up effectively, on track anyway. And Di Gianantonio, when he spoke to the media yesterday, was basically saying, my teammate is an idiot. and it wasn't even in so many words. He said basically idiotic moves.
Hey, he won't be the first teammate to say that about his teammate, will it? He won't be the first rider to say that about his teammate. Over the years, it's always a challenging relationship, teammates. The last thing you want from your teammate in a race is him pulling silly moves on you, because it essentially costs you both time. There's nothing worse than you're in 5th place, you can see 4th place pulling away from you, or the gap's growing, and then your teammate's behind you and he just lets the brake off and runs you both off the track or wide even, and you lose time. And we've seen that happen a lot between them two.
Here we go, we're on board with Bagnaia behind Marc Marquez. He said, I have got the same bike underneath me as Motegi, I just couldn't, it was unrideable. Now, there's a lot of debate being sparked around the paddock this morning about Pecco Bagnaia, about whether phrase gave up would be wrong, I think, to suggest that. He basically said, look, I rode what I could, the bike was shaking, it didn't feel right. This is the same bike, how is it possible I win one week and yet the next week I'm 30 seconds nearly behind, over 2 seconds a lap slower than the eventual race winner. And yet, you know, Marc Marquez, similar sort of thing. He's having trouble this weekend. He eventually brought it home in 6th place. What's your read of it all? Well, and will it get better with a medium tyre?
Oh, that was what a great shot that was then. Of just the reality of that tricky last sector, but watching Pedro Acosta just turn in and lose the rear, really.
How many times has he done that this weekend?
A lot, as Pedro. He's crashed out of the sprint and he's looked sketchy all weekend. But yeah, it's the reality of it is that the 2025 Ducati looks like it's struggling around this track. The Ducatis in general were, but then Aldeguer almost won. So you have to adapt to the conditions, and that's what Marc did. Having had a terrible weekend, having had a long lap penalty during the race, he brought it home in 6th place. Yeah, that's not a great result for Marc Marquez, but that's someone extracting the most out of the weekend.
Without that long lap penalty, which, again, having looked back at it, yeah, I could see why it's given as a penalty. We said that at the time, but I could also see it not being given as a penalty. Marc put his hand up and said, I'll take it. But without that, third?
Yeah, third was possible. Definitely 4th, but third was possible. And then that'd have been a really strong day, having qualified way down, having crashed a couple of times, having had no race pace at all.
It's that phase of the corner, isn't it, Neil? We talk about it, where the contact of the rear tyre in hard braking are braking in to the corner, and with this heat-treated tyre, it's just not doing what they want. A bit like the Yamaha, the feeling that they get from that bike that they've talked about a lot this year.
Yeah. Do you know, I was reading David Emmett's column this morning on Moto Matters, which I thought was interesting, and he's so right. He explains it this way: the Ducati's strongest point is extracting grip out of the circuit. When you come to this track, which is a low grip track because it's dirty, doesn't get used, and you put the harder or the heat treated compound slick in, there is no grip out there anyway. So it's almost like Ducati have lost their main strength.
Yeah, you're losing your weapon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. And
there isn't. The other thing I will say is, how many ride height devices sectors are there on this?
Yeah, 1 it looks like, and that's the start and finish straight, which is relatively small. So then it's sort of the Ducatis have slipped back into the pack, haven't they?
Yeah, takes their sharp edges.
Yeah, lost their advantage.
Yeah, it neutralises their bike maybe a little bit more.
This
Ralph
man
Fernandez had a great day, didn't he?
so
Great day
pleased.
for the family.
Yeah.
Adrian starts on pole in Moto3.
Yeah. Is it his first pole?
Ben Fry down there, who works with Trackhouse team.
Gav, is that Adrian Fernandez's first
Second.
pole? Second pole.
He had one last year in Malaysia, I think it was.
So he likes the flyaways. He likes it hot and steamy then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good to see Ralph Fernandez. First podium as a MotoGP rider. He's in his 4th season. And he's been chipping away at it, I'm going to say, really, really well. He's been fast all weekend, by the way. It wasn't a fluky podium. He qualified well and put together a solid race. He said he was really nervous, which he would be, because, like I said, I actually said it before the race to Susie. Listen, he's been having a good weekend, but these you have to convert. If he wants to stay as a MotoGP rider in the future and have a proper career in this paddock, you have to make the most of these situations.
Does the medium tyre being the option today, does that change things? And what's the deal on the front? Because obviously we saw the tyre pressure fell foul of that Luca Marini, sorry, I'll reword that. HRC and Luca Marini fell foul of the tyre pressure rule yesterday, so he was relegated from 6th back to 13th place in the race. Surely that's going to be another issue then today?
Yeah, you think so? I think with the medium rear, you'll still have the... Marco Bezzecchi's still got an advantage on everyone. In fact, he could go as fast on the medium as the other riders could go on the soft. So I could almost argue that his advantage could be even more, believe it or not. That's what's going on there.
This is Mark making moves. Alex is looking over his shoulder.
He nearly had his brother into the back of him. I think Mark's going to be much stronger in the race. I think if you looked at the end of the race, the end of the sprint, Mark was 2nd fastest man on track coming forward.
It feels like today, just even in this little warm-up session,
it looks better, doesn't it?
It looks so much better, but there's two things there: is the medium tyre and more grip. We saw a wide shot before he goes fastest. You can see it. There was a little drone shot we just had before. I don't know if it's heli or not. How much darker the dark line is, how much darker the racing line is, how much more rubbered in it's becoming, and then suddenly that starts to move things towards the Ducati side.
Because there is more grip out there.
It sets us up beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
For a race later.
Yeah, it does.
Still, Bezzecchi's your favourite.
Absolute favourite. And essentially, we need what happened yesterday. Bezzecchi to get a bad start, and we might have a juicy race on our hands. If he gets the whole shot, he's the favourite. He's definitely the favourite. But
even for me, Aldeguer in a long race, he's shown us, hasn't he, already this season? Aldeguer, that podium that he had in Austria, for example.
Well, it's the combination of Firmino Aldeguer and Frankie Carcetti, his crew chief, who always work for the second half of Sunday. Sunday's where the big points are. It's the end of the race, or second half of the race, that counts. And it starts Friday morning on doing lots of laps on tyres.
And that, do you know what? I can hear people at home say, why don't they all do that then? Why don't you all do that?
Which is a really good question. I'll answer it by the most important session is Friday afternoon to try and get yourself directly through to Q2. So that guarantees that you're on the first 4 rows. So a lot of people do focus. Of course, they're doing laps on tyres, but they're also trying to do an out-and-out fast lap and get the bike set for that. So,
and that's where a lot of times this year, Firmino Aldeguer has been caught out in Q2.
Yes, exactly.
His podiums have come after his best qualifying, essentially. He was 7th, he got the podium in Aragon. He was 4th in France, got 2 podiums there. 6th on the grid in Austria, 2nd in the race. 2nd here yesterday, you know. There's Pablo Nieto down there.
I feel like I need to get one of the VR46 team shirts for tonight's beers.
We don't, what?
Not that we ever would drink beer. But yeah, on Sunday night in Lombok, it's rubbish
shirt night.
Rubbish shirt night. And they, or colourful shirt, let's say. Because I quite like the VR40. I quite like that.
Essentially, Neil has a shirt that looks like a bully off a bullseye. For those of a certain vintage, you'll appreciate it. And it was brought out one year, and ever since then, Sunday night has got one theme.
Yeah. The problem is, every time I wear it, I can't stop shouting at the top of my voice, in one! And by the end of the night, I've got no voice left. Yeah, so, like I say, of a certain age, if you know, you know, one for the kids.
Quartararo here, right, is fastest, but caveat, only a couple of other riders on the soft rear tyre.
Yeah.
We have been to this show before, haven't we, with the soft rear tyre? People trying it on race day, race distance, lasting the distance. Is it going to last the distance?
Well,
what have tests shown?
I could literally say, I was going to use that line as well. Tests have shown almost is the answer, but not quite. That said, we're a year on. The abrasiveness of this circuit will probably be slightly less. Maybe it can.
Decisions to be made over the next couple of hours before we go racing here. A reminder of what's coming up. We are live on air throughout the rest of the day here on TNT Sports 2 UK times. Moto 3 races at 5 AM, Moto 2 race at 6:15, and the build-up to MotoGP from 7:30. And if you do just make it for the race start, maybe you want to catch up with all the post-race action in checkered flag. That will follow as per usual. That wasn't the greatest of starts for Marc Marquez, but definitely looks more at the game today. Marco Bezzecchi, you can forgive him for going out there. Maybe even went out there on a used tyre, I don't know. It depends what's in his allocation. This was in behind Bagnaia, who still throwing a couple of shapes. Bagnaia was down in 17th, a second slower than his teammate this morning.
Yeah. And I also noticed Fabio Di Gianantonio down in 18th.
Yeah.
So.
And I want to go to that just quickly, because people were saying, oh, you were saying Bagnaia was back in Japan. It is such a different story here, isn't it? And it won't compare to Australia. It won't compare to Malaysia.
No,
or Portugal.
The changes they've made to Pecco's bike, we will learn after Phillip Island if it's worked. We'll learn straight away at Phillip Island. If it's, 'cause I think he'll be fast at Phillip Island.
Yeah, and Sepang you'd expect him to be quick.
Yeah, it's good around that. There's one thing, these men are going to suffer today, because they were all saying after the sprint race.
So how are you preparing between now and the race? What have you been doing since the sprint yesterday? You'll have lost a lot of liquid, you've lost a lot of salts and everything. So how have you been preparing from the moment that you came back into the garage after the sprint race?
Well, the line is, from the moment you came in, you have started preparing, because that's what you have to do. Straight into a plunge pool, core temperature down, so you sort of stop the rot. That's the first thing. And now it is scientific. They've all got, obviously, at this level, that they will know what to drink, what electrolytes, what salts, what amounts, don't drink too much, what to eat, what not to eat. And it will be planned out, literally. And even if you're not thirsty, they will have their right hand, their helpers will be like, well, don't forget to drink, keep drinking. And it's little and often, isn't it? So, and yeah, literally keeping out of the sun. But yeah, they are going to suffer. It is hot and humid. It says it's 31 degrees. It feels more like 40.
When you're in the sun,
when you're in the direct sun.
The direct sun is.
And that's, honestly, and I know we talk about this a lot when we go to hot countries, that's just when we're standing in there talking in the sun. We're not doing anything physical. We're not running. We're not jogging. You're not doing press-ups. You're not doing burpees. Racing a MotoGP bike is like doing burpees for 40 minutes. And I know it doesn't look it, but you have to trust me when I tell you that's what it feels like.
Pecco doesn't want the camera in his face.
No, I can't blame him.
Adam this morning, it's not
worked.
An improvement. He gave a grumpy interview or two yesterday. There's one for MotoGP.com, one for the Spanish TV as well, just essentially saying, well, I've not changed, the bike's not changed, come on, what has changed then? One thing I would say that has changed, not to answer his question that he knows only too well, it feels like to me the tyre has been has a big say in this tyre, and the the track surface needing to be rubbered in.
Yeah, and
but it's the same every year here, isn't it?
It's the same every year, and it's the same for everybody. And yeah, you have to adapt. The great champions can ride around problems. That's what they've. And I'm talking about the absolute greats. When I think of that, you know, you're thinking of 5 or 6 riders. So.
Yes.
Pecco Bagnaia is an incredible motorcycle racer, 3-time world champion, 2-time MotoGP world champion. Is he one of the greats? Well,
that's the challenge.
That's the challenge in front of him.
Yeah. Well, Raul Fernandez, can he back up his podium in the sprint yesterday with more celebrations? Going to find out. Confirmation of Luca Marini being relegated from 6th to 13th yesterday. We know it's harsh. We're not going to get into all that now, but hopefully they can just set it right today. That's why he said he tried to run wide a couple of times, trying to bring the heat down and pressure down, but didn't manage it. No, Jorge Martin, but in his absence, Aprilia flying again. Quartararo topped that warm-up session, though. Is he in the mix? Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez 2nd and 3rd. We have got a race day coming up here. Of course, we kick things off with Moto3, then Moto2 and MotoGP at the end. We'll take a breather. Susie's back after the break.